Hello, friends, and welcome back. I hope you're all doing well by God's grace. If you haven't already, please take a moment to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you never miss an update. Let's start the final part. The hidden name in the room felt smaller than it should have. Leon leaned forward, elbows on the table, eyes scanning the documents spread across the surface. The faint hum of the computer filled the silence between them, broken only by the occasional click of the trackpad. Columns of numbers, legal terms, and unfamiliar entities blurred together until one name made Leon stop cold. "I've never heard of Blue Mesa Holdings," Leon whispered, almost to himself. Meri didn't answer immediately. She was staring at the same line, her expression tightening, her mind already racing ahead of the evidence. The name didn't just feel unfamiliar, it felt wrong. Like something buried too carefully. "Why would I be mentioned?" Leon added, their voice quieter now, edged with confusion that was beginning to turn into something heavier. Meri exhaled slowly, her fingers pressing against her temple as if trying to physically push through the confusion. "I don't know," she admitted, her voice steady but strained. "But if it's real, then someone either tried to protect you or use you." The weight of that possibility hung in the air. Miles away, in a dusty office that smelled faintly of old paper and stale coffee, a woman sat hunched over a flickering monitor. The blinds were half-closed, slicing the room into bands of dim light and shadow. She didn't notice the time, didn't notice the cold coffee in her hand. Her attention was locked onto the grainy black and white security footage playing on repeat. Reagan Holt, a forensic accountant who had spent decades chasing numbers that didn't want to be found. Her eyes narrowed as she paused the video, rewound it, and played it again. Something about the sequence wasn't right. The timestamps aligned. The movement matched the reports. But the pattern beneath it, the invisible pattern, was off. She reached for a yellow folder beside her. Brown files, the handwritten label read. Inside were pages marked with annotations, audit trails, and fragments of a puzzle that refused to sit still. She flipped through them quickly, her mind working faster than her hands. Then she stopped. "Blue Mesa Holdings," she murmured. The name echoed in her memory like a distant bell. Why does that sound familiar? Her gaze sharpened. Without hesitation, she grabbed her phone and dialed a secured government line. She didn't wait for pleasantries. "Yeah," she said firmly when the call connected. "I'm going to need a fraud team." A pause. "One of our witnesses missed something," she added, her voice lowering. "And it's big." Back at Meri's house, the air had shifted. Leon opened another file, this one older, buried deeper in the digital archive. "There's more," they said. Meri turned toward the screen. Leon's eyes moved quickly as they read. "It's a legal override request, dated 2019. Meri's stomach tightened. He was trying to change the primary beneficiary of one of the old family trusts. Meri's voice came out sharper than she intended. "To who?" Leon turned the screen slowly, as if even the motion required care. "Robin." The word landed like a crack in glass. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Meri didn't react the way someone might expect. No sudden outburst. No immediate anger. Just stillness. A deep, dangerous stillness. "You think the courtroom uncovered the betrayal," Leon said quietly, their voice thick with realization. "But this never even made it there." Meri's lips parted, but no words came. "Until finally, I stood up for her," she said. Her voice cracked, not loudly, but enough. "I defended her, even when no one else would. I kept telling myself she didn't know. She didn't choose this." Leon reached out, placing a hand gently on her shoulder. "She knew, Mom." The truth didn't explode. It sank. Heavy. Permanent. They both looked back at the screen. There it was. The signature. Robin's name. Clear. Undeniable. Legal spouse. That night, the house felt colder. Meri sat alone in the dim glow of her phone, scrolling through old messages. Conversations filled with warmth. Support. Sisterhood. "I've got you. Don't let anything come between us. We're stronger together." Every word now felt like a lie carefully crafted. Her thumb hovered over the screen before she locked it. Then she opened her notes app. Her fingers hesitated for only a second before she began to write. The courtroom gave me peace. She paused. This gives me fury. Her breath caught, but she kept going. And I don't know what scares me more, what he kept from me, or what he gave to my child. Morning came quietly. Too quietly. Until the sharp ping of an incoming email shattered it. Meri glanced at her phone. New message. Unknown sender. Subject line, I worked with him. I have everything. Her pulse quickened. Attached was a voice recording. Kody, Blue Mesa call, February 2021. Meri froze for a moment. Then slowly, she put on her headphones. And pressed play. Static crackled before a familiar voice cut through. Cold. Controlled. No, just leave it under the holding name, Kody said. Meri's grip tightened. If they subpoena domestic information, this won't show. Robin and I are the only two who can sign off. A pause. Leon's name is there for optics. That's all. The recording ended. Silence flooded the room. Meri didn't move. Didn't blink. It wasn't just fraud. It wasn't just betrayal. It was something worse. He had used their child. Not accidentally. Not carelessly. Deliberately. Like a piece on a board. Later that day, Meri sat at her computer again. This time, her hands didn't shake. They were steady. Purposeful. She attached the recording. The documents. Everything. And addressed the email to Reagan Holt. At the bottom, she typed a single line. You missed something. We both did. She hovered over the send button. Then clicked. And leaned back. Because deep down she knew. This wasn't the end. It was the beginning. At exactly 7 a.m. the next morning, her phone rang. Private number. No caller ID. She answered instinctively. Miss Brown. The voice was calm. Official. Yes. This is Special Agent Lydia Sharp with the Financial Crimes Division. Meri's spine straightened. We've received materials forwarded by your independent auditor. I need to verify, did you receive those documents directly from an anonymous third party? Meri swallowed. Yes. A brief pause. Then we'll need you to report in today. Click. The line went dead. Meri stared at her phone. No explanation. No reassurance. Just a directive. And the unmistakable feeling that everything had just crossed a line. When it becomes federal, the Phoenix Federal Building didn't look intimidating from the outside. But inside, it felt like a different world. Meri followed the suited agent down a long, sterile hallway where every footstep echoed just a little too loudly. The walls were bare, the lighting harsh, and the air carried that unmistakable government stillness, controlled, watchful, and heavy with consequence. No windows. No distractions. Just truth waiting to be uncovered. She was led into a small conference room. Gray walls. A rectangular table. 2 chairs. A recorder sitting dead center like a silent witness. Agent Lydia Sharp entered moments later, a red folder tucked neatly under her arm. She didn't waste time. You understand what's happening, Miss Brown, Sharp said, taking a seat across from her. Meri nodded slowly. Her hands were clasped tightly in her lap, but her voice didn't shake. He used my child's name to hide assets. Agent Sharp held her gaze. We're not talking about family court anymore, she replied evenly. We're talking about federal violations. The words landed with finality. Tax evasion. Beneficiary fraud. Offshore concealment. Sharp opened the red folder, sliding a document across the table. Potential prison time. Meri looked down at the paper. Blue Mesa Holdings. Official. Filed. Signed. This application was submitted in 2020, Sharp continued. Robin Brown listed as a silent partner. Meri's chest tightened. And your child Leon listed as a contingency heir. Meri's head snapped up. Are they in trouble? Sharp shook her head once. Firm. Not if we act first. A pause. But we need everything. Meri didn't hesitate this time. The emails. The documents. The recording, she said. I have it all. Agent Sharp leaned back slightly, studying her. This isn't about broken relationships anymore, she said quietly. This is about accountability. Meri met her eyes. Good, she replied. Because I'm done protecting him. Miles away, in a roadside motel that smelled of damp carpet and cigarette smoke, Kody sat on the edge of a creaking bed. The man who once thrived under bright lights and loud attention now lived in silence. 3 hours outside Flagstaff. Cash only. No real name. No past. A hoodie pulled low over his face, a beard grown out just enough to blur recognition. His phone buzzed inside a drawer. He didn't answer it. Not anymore. He checked the burner phone instead again. Nothing. No messages from Robin. No updates. No plan. For the first time in a long time, he wasn't controlling the narrative. He was reacting to it. And he hated it. Back in Flagstaff, Leon pushed open the door to Meri's house, carrying a worn cardboard box. "I found these in storage," they said, setting it down on the table. Meri looked up. "What is it?" "Old journals. Papers. Stuff he kept." Meri's expression shifted, curiosity mixing with something darker. "Let's go through them." They sat together, opening the box piece by piece. Old notebooks. Loose pages. Fragments of a life that now felt like evidence. Then Leon paused. "Mom, look at this." Meri leaned closer. It wasn't a journal. It was structured. Organized. Deliberate. At the top of the page, written in Kody's unmistakable handwriting, Holdings' realignment plan. Meri's stomach dropped. Below it, diagrams. Arrows connecting accounts. Notes scribbled in margins. Private distribution model, Leon read aloud. Meri's fingers trembled as she traced the lines. "This isn't theory," she whispered. "It's a blueprint." Her eyes scanned downward until they landed on a number circled in pen. Target extraction, $510,000 by Q4 2022 underneath. Disbursement funnel, 3 accounts Flagstaff. Utah. Mexico. Meri read it again. And again. Each time it hit harder. "This was planned," she said quietly. "Not a mistake. Not desperation. Design. Cold. Calculated." At the bottom of the page, a signature. Robin. Meri closed her eyes briefly. Not from shock. From confirmation. 2 hours later, her phone rang. Reagan Holt. Meri answered immediately. "You're not going to like this," Reagan said without preamble. Meri braced herself. "What is it?" "He's moving the money." Meri's heart skipped. "Now." "Yes." "He's trying to transfer Blue Mesa funds through multiple countries." Meri stood up, pacing. "Can they stop it?" A pause. "Only if we're fast enough," Reagan replied. "But he's bouncing it, layering transfers. It's meant to confuse tracking." Meri stopped pacing. Her voice hardened. "Then we move faster." That evening, she sat across from Agent Sharp again. The energy in the room had shifted. This time, it felt urgent. "Are you willing to testify?" Sharp asked. Meri didn't answer immediately. This time federally, Sharp clarified. "With full exposure. Media, court records, the works." Meri stared at the table. "It will make you the face of this case," Sharp added. "The woman who brought it down." Silence stretched between them. "Then, I'm not afraid of him anymore," Meri said. Her voice was calm. "Certain. He took everything from me, except my name." She looked up. "And now I have that back." Agent Sharp nodded once. "Then we file by Monday." Across town, Robin sat at her kitchen table. Suitcases lay open at her feet. Half packed, half abandoned. Her hands shook as she read the same letter over and over. "They're coming. Don't talk. Don't answer anything. They'll bury you if you open your mouth." The words blurred. Her breath came faster. "I should have run," she whispered to herself. But it was too late. Because there's one thing more dangerous than a powerful man, a man losing power. That night, under the flickering light of a motel sign, Kody stood in front of a cracked mirror. He barely recognized himself. Eyes hollow. Face tense. Control slipping. "They won't find me," he muttered. But even he didn't believe it anymore. Then a knock. 3 slow, deliberate hits on the door. Kody froze. Another knock. Louder this time. "Mr. Brown." A voice, sharp and official. "Federal agents." His heart slammed against his chest. For a split second, He considered opening the door, explaining, talking, spinning the story like he always had. But instinct took over. He stepped back, turned, grabbed the window frame, and jumped into the night. By morning, the story had exploded. Every headline carried the same name: Kody Brown. Federal fraud investigation. $500,000 in hidden assets. Reality star missing. News channels lit up. Podcasts dissected every detail. Social media erupted. And at the center of it, Meri. Her phone wouldn't stop ringing. Messages flooded in from everywhere. Friends, strangers, reporters, networks. Everyone wanted her story. But she didn't speak. Not yet. Because this wasn't about attention. This was about truth. In a federal press room, Agent Sharp stood behind a podium. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions over one another. Is Kody Brown in custody? Is this tied to television contracts? Did Robin Brown know? Sharp raised a hand, silencing the chaos just enough. Mr. Brown is currently evading federal capture, she stated. The room buzzed louder. We are investigating financial misconduct involving domestic and international asset concealment. A reporter shouted, Is Robin Brown involved? Sharp didn't hesitate. We are examining every individual named in the financial records. And just like that, Robin's name entered the fire. 20 minutes later, the internet did what it always does. It found proof. A leaked document. A signature. Robin's name on the beneficiary override. It spread in seconds. By noon, her name was trending. Not whispered. Not speculated. Exposed. Robin watched it unfold in real time. Her phone rang nonstop. Her publicist. Her lawyer. Voices overlapping. Panicked. Demanding. Upstairs, her children cried. And then, the doorbell rang. She froze. Slowly walked to the door. Opened it. Agent Sharp stood there. Calm. Unmoving. Mrs. Brown, she said. Robin swallowed hard. We need to talk. The leak that broke everything. Robin didn't remember sitting down. One moment she was standing at the door, frozen in the glare of reality, and the next she was inside a sterile interview room, hands trembling in her lap, a glass of water untouched in front of her. Agent Sharp sat opposite her again. Calm. Controlled. Patient in the way only federal investigators could afford to be. This isn't family court anymore, Sharp said quietly. You understand that, don't you? Robin nodded faintly, though her throat felt tight. This is federal, Sharp continued. We are talking about forgery, financial concealment, and interstate fraud. Robin's lips parted. No words came at first. I didn't know everything, she finally said. Sharp didn't react. But you knew something, she replied. Silence settled again. Heavier this time. Outside the room, the world was already moving without her permission. Across the city, Meri sat with Leon in a small office filled with scattered folders and half-drunk coffee cups. Screens lined the desk, each one displaying a different piece of the same collapsing puzzle. Leon leaned back, exhausted. This is bigger than we thought, they said quietly. Meri didn't answer right away. She was reading something new, something that had just been decrypted. A legal document. Old. Carefully constructed. Too carefully. Her eyes narrowed. This isn't just fraud, she said finally. Leon looked up. What is it then? Meri hesitated. Then slid the document across the table. Leon read it once. Then again. Their expression changed slowly. Confusion first. Then disbelief. Then something colder. It's a will, Leon whispered. Meri nodded. A forged one, she added. The document was titled, Brown Family Holdings, Beneficiary Reallocation Draft, 2019. At first glance, it looked legitimate. Lawyer stamps. Structured clauses. Official formatting. But there were cracks in it. Small inconsistencies. A signature that didn't fully align with verified records. And one final line that made Leon's breath catch. Primary heir designation, sole heir, Leon Brown. Leon leaned back sharply. What does that even mean? They asked. Meri's jaw tightened. It means, she said slowly, he didn't just use your name. She paused. He designed your future around it. The room went silent. The implication wasn't just financial. It was existential. Hours later, Reagan Holt called again. Her voice was different this time, strained, urgent. "I need you to listen carefully," she said. Meri straightened immediately. "He's trying to transfer everything," Reagan continued. "Blue Mesa funds are moving through shell entities, Mexico, Cyprus, and a holding bank in Switzerland." Meri's grip tightened around the phone. "Can we stop it?" A pause. "We might already be too late for part of it," Reagan admitted. "But there's something else." Meri frowned. "What?" "The signature on the final authorization documents isn't his." Meri went still. "What are you saying?" Reagan exhaled. "It matches a deceased estate lawyer from Utah. Someone who died in 2022. Meri's mind raced. "That's impossible." "I know," Reagan replied. "But he had one final known client." A beat of silence. Then Robin Brown. Meri slowly lowered herself into a chair. Because now it wasn't just fraud. It was orchestration. That night, Leon appeared on live radio. They hadn't told Meri. She only found out when her phone started buzzing uncontrollably. Breaking news alerts. Clips. Quotes. Leon's voice echoed through every screen. "I never agreed to being part of any financial documentation tied to my father," Leon said firmly. "My name was used without my consent." A pause on air. Then the host asked carefully, "Do you want to see your father go to prison?" Leon hesitated. The silence stretched. "I want him to be held accountable," they said finally. "For everything he did." Not anger. Not revenge. Just certainty. And that certainty changed everything. By morning, the internet had exploded again. But this time, it wasn't speculation. It was evidence. A leaked version of Robin's partial testimony had surfaced. Not everything. Just enough. Enough to confirm. The override document existed. The forged beneficiary structure was real. Leon's name had been inserted intentionally. The system had been manipulated from inside. The headlines burned across every platform. Forged will exposed in Brown case, Leon Brown named in fraud scheme, Robin Brown cooperating with authorities, and suddenly, the narrative shifted. Meri wasn't alone anymore. Leon wasn't invisible anymore. And Robin was now a turning point. But not everyone saw it that way. Because while the world debated, Kody was watching from a remote cabin deep in Utah. No stable internet. No public contact. Just a burner tablet and silence thick enough to choke on. He read the headlines slowly. Then again. His jaw tightened. "They're twisting it," he muttered. But his hands were shaking. Because deep down, he knew it wasn't being twisted. It was being uncovered. And uncovered things don't go back into the dark easily. Back in Flagstaff, Meri sat alone at her kitchen table. The house was quiet. Too quiet. Leon was asleep upstairs. But Meri couldn't sleep. She kept replaying everything. The documents. The recordings. The signatures. The lies. And then something shifted inside her. Not anger anymore. Something heavier. Responsibility. Because Leon's name wasn't just evidence. It was damage. She closed her eyes. "This is my fault too," she whispered. Not because she caused it. But because she had carried it too long before seeing it clearly. The next morning, another call came. "Agent Sharp." "We've got movement," she said immediately. Meri stood up. "What kind of movement?" Sharp paused. "Then Kody is no longer in the system we can track." Meri's stomach dropped. "He disappeared?" "Or someone helped him disappear," Sharp replied. A beat. Then she added, "And Robin is preparing to flip completely." Meri froze. "Flip how?" Sharp's voice lowered. "She's going to testify against everything." Silence. Then Meri said quietly, "Then it's over." Sharp corrected her. "No," she said. "This is where it becomes real." That evening, Robin sat alone in a dim room. No makeup. No press. No family. Just a folder on the table and a pen in her hand. Her lawyer's voice echoed faintly behind her. "If you do this, there's no going back." Robin didn't answer immediately. She looked at the papers again. Her signature. His instructions. The system she had been part of without fully understanding where it led. Then she whispered, "I didn't build it." A pause. "But I helped hold it up." And slowly, she signed the agreement. That same night, Meri received a message. Unknown sender. One line. You think she's telling the truth? No name. No follow-up. Just that. Meri stared at the screen for a long time, then locked it, because now she understood something important. This wasn't just about truth anymore. It was about control. And someone out there still wanted it. The point of no return, the federal courtroom, didn't feel like a place where truth was discovered. It felt like a place where truth was extracted. Robin sat at the witness stand, her hands folded tightly in her lap, fingers pressing into each other hard enough to leave marks. The room was too bright, too silent. Every movement echoed louder than it should have. Across the room, Agent Sharp stood ready, expression unreadable. The prosecutor leaned forward. State your name for the record, they said. Robin swallowed. Robin Alice Brown. A pause. And do you understand that your testimony today may be used in federal proceedings against you and others involved? Yes, she said quietly. The word barely left her mouth. But it changed everything. Outside the courtroom, the world was already reacting. Reporters crowded behind barricades. Cameras flashed. News tickers rolled endlessly. Robin Brown takes stand in federal fraud case. Inside testimony could crack open Brown empire, but inside the room, there was no audience. Only consequence. Robin closed her eyes briefly, then began. He didn't just transfer funds, she said slowly. He restructured the entire family system. The prosecutor leaned in. Who is he? Robin hesitated for half a second. Kody Brown. A ripple moved through the room. Robin continued. He believed money was secondary, she said. Control was everything. She paused, then added, even control over what happens after he's gone. Meri sat in a separate observation room, watching through glass. Leon stood beside her, arms crossed tightly. Neither spoke, because hearing it spoken aloud made it real in a way documents never could. On the screen, Robin slid a folder forward. Inside were copies, will drafts, forged signatures, beneficiary mappings. All of it laid bare. This document, Robin said in testimony, was presented as legal instruction. But it was structured to reroute inheritance through offshore holding entities. The prosecutor asked, "Did you sign it knowingly?" Robin's voice cracked slightly. "I signed as witness," she said. "I believed it was to protect the family." A pause. "And did you understand the consequences?" Robin shook her head slowly. "No, not fully." Then quieter, "But I see them now." Leon shifted slightly beside Meri. Their voice was low. "So I was part of that?" Meri didn't answer immediately. She watched Robin on the screen, then finally said, "No." A pause. "You were used in it." That distinction mattered. But it didn't make it easier. Meanwhile, far away in a hidden cabin, Kody paced like a trapped animal. The walls felt closer than before. Every headline on his burner tablet felt like a tightening rope. Then his phone buzzed. One message. Unknown number. "They're testifying." "It's over." Kody stared at it, then threw the phone against the wall. It shattered. But the silence that followed was worse. Because he knew it wasn't over. It was catching up. Back in court, Robin's testimony deepened. There were offshore structures, she continued. Accounts in multiple jurisdictions. Shell companies designed to obscure ownership. The prosecutor asked, was Leon Brown aware of his designation as heir? Robin shook her head quickly. No. Her voice rose slightly. No, he wasn't meant to know. None of them were. A pause. Then the most important question came. Who controlled the structure? Robin hesitated. The entire room held still. Then she said, Kody. That single word hit like a break in a dam. Meri's hands tightened in the observation room. Leon's jaw clenched. Because now it wasn't speculation. It was sworn testimony. The prosecutor leaned forward again. And did you ever believe the system would remain hidden? Robin's eyes lowered. Yes, she admitted. Because I was told it would. Silence. Then softer, and I believed him. Hours later, the courtroom adjourned temporarily. But the damage had already spread beyond the building. News channels exploded with updates. Clips of Robin's testimony went viral within minutes. Experts debated. Reporters speculated. Social media dissected every sentence. And for the first time, the case stopped being rumor. It became history in progress. That evening, Agent Sharp met Meri outside the courthouse steps. The sky was gray, heavy still. "You saw it," Sharp said. Meri nodded. She confirmed everything. Sharp didn't respond immediately. Then, "Not everything," she corrected. Meri frowned. "What's missing?" Sharp lowered her voice slightly. "The part where Kody is now missing because someone helped him." A pause. Meri felt a chill. "You think someone is protecting him?" Sharp's expression tightened. "I think someone is controlling the outcome." At the same time, Robin sat alone in a holding room. No cameras. No lawyers. Just silence. And a single thought circling her mind. "I can't take this back now." Her phone buzzed once. Blocked number. A message appeared. "You think this ends with your testimony?" Her breath caught. She didn't reply, but her hands shook harder than before. Because now she understood, speaking wasn't the end of danger. It was the beginning of visibility. That night, Leon sat on Meri's porch. The air was cold. Quiet. Too quiet. "I didn't ask for any of this," Leon said. Meri sat beside them. "I know," she replied. A pause. Then Leon asked, "Do you think he'll ever stop?" Meri looked out into the dark yard. "No," she said honestly. "He doesn't know how." Elsewhere, deep in the system of federal tracking, a new alert appeared. Kody's last known signal had pinged briefly, then vanished again. Agent Sharp stared at the screen. "He's moving," she said quietly. A colleague asked, "Where to?" Sharp didn't look away. "Somewhere he thinks we won't follow." A pause. Then she added, "But we already are." That night, Meri opened her laptop again. A new email waited. Subject line, "Final documentation request, no sender name." Just attachments. As she opened them, her face changed. Because this wasn't just evidence anymore. It was escalation. And somewhere behind it, a system still trying to survive. Meri closed the laptop slowly, then whispered to herself, "This isn't done." And for the first time, she wasn't afraid of that. The end of silence the morning of the final hearing arrived without ceremony. No dramatic sunrise. No thunder. No warning. Just a gray sky over a city already exhausted by headlines. Inside the federal courthouse, everything felt heavier than before. Not because of what was coming, but because everyone knew it was already decided in motion. Truth had already broken through. Now it only needed to be finalized. Meri sat in the front row, not as an observer anymore, but as someone permanently tied to what had unfolded. Leon sat beside her, silent, eyes fixed forward. Neither of them spoke. There was nothing left to guess. Only what would be confirmed. The judge entered. The room stood. And then it began. Agent Sharp took the stand first for procedural summary. After review of financial records, testimony, and cross-jurisdictional audits, she said clearly, "We have confirmed a coordinated structure involving offshore holdings, beneficiary manipulation, and falsified estate documents under the entity known as Blue Mesa Holdings." She paused. "This investigation is ongoing, but core findings are no longer in dispute." A ripple moved through the room. Not shock. Finality. Then came the update everyone had been waiting for. Kody Brown. The room quieted further. Agent Sharp stepped forward again. "We can confirm the subject was located and taken into federal custody early this morning." A pause. No celebration. No applause. Just a collective exhale from a system that had been holding its breath for too long. Meri didn't react outwardly, but something inside her loosened slightly. Not joy. Not satisfaction. Closure. Leon finally spoke under their breath. "So it's over?" Meri hesitated, then answered honestly. "No." A glance. "It's just no longer out of control." The courtroom shifted again as Robin entered later that day under protection. Her hair was tied back. Her posture smaller than before. Not defeated, but changed. Like someone who had crossed through fire and didn't come out untouched. She didn't look at Meri immediately. Or Leon. She looked at the table. Because looking up meant facing everything at once. The prosecutor spoke. Ms. Brown, do you reaffirm your testimony given under immunity agreement? Robin swallowed. Yes. Her voice was quieter than before, but steadier. Yes, I do. She was asked to clarify final points. Did you knowingly participate in the creation or concealment of fraudulent financial structures? A long pause. Then, yes. Meri closed her eyes briefly. Not because she was surprised. Because she wasn't anymore. And do you accept responsibility for your role? Robin's hands trembled slightly. Yes, she said. A breath. Yes, I do. That was it. No dramatic collapse. No shouting. Just truth spoken fully at last. Outside the courthouse, the media exploded again. But inside, something had ended. Later that evening, Kody sat in a federal holding facility. No cameras. No audience. No escape. Just silence and reflection he had avoided for years. A guard passed by his cell. No words exchanged. Because there was nothing left to negotiate. Only time left to serve. Back in Flagstaff, Meri stood alone on the hilltop. The same place where everything had once felt uncertain. Wind moved through the dry grass. The sky was open. Endless. She held her journal in her hands. The same one she had carried through everything. She opened it. Read the first page. Then slowly tore it out. The page that one said, "I don't know who I am without him." She let it go. The wind took it. Then she wrote something new. Slowly. Deliberately. "I know exactly who I am now." She paused. Then added, "And I was never lost. Only buried." Behind her, footsteps approached. Leon. They stood beside her without speaking for a moment. Then said softly, "So what happens now?" Meri looked out at the horizon. For a long time, she didn't answer. Then finally, "Now," she said, "we live without waiting for permission." The documentary team later released its final cut. No sensational ending. No dramatic collapse. Just truth. Meri's voice. Leon's testimony. Robin's confession. And the quiet unraveling of a system that once looked untouchable. In the final scene of the series, Meri sat alone once more. But this time not as someone being watched. As someone speaking. "If you're listening to this," she said, looking into the camera, "I want you to understand something." A pause. They built their power on silence. Another pause. And it only worked until someone decided not to be silent anymore. The screen faded. Not into darkness, but into stillness. Later, headlines softened. Not because the story disappeared, but because it had ended its most volatile phase. Kody Brown in custody. Investigations ongoing. Assets frozen. Legal proceedings continuing. Robin, cooperating under immunity terms. Leon, cleared of involvement. Meri, no longer just a witness. A voice. A record. A line that could not be erased. That night, Meri returned home. No sirens. No threats. No unknown numbers. Just quiet. Leon sat on the couch, scrolling through messages from people they had never met. Survivors. Readers. Strangers who said the same thing in different words. "Thank you for speaking." Meri watched them for a moment, then smiled faintly. Not because everything was perfect, but because silence no longer owned the room. She walked to the door, opened it, stepped outside, and for the first time in a long time, nothing followed her. Final part is END. Thanks for watching and your support. Do not forget to subscribe my YouTube channel. Next video are coming very soon.